Vlad Masters has always been a massive creep. If you saw my past few videos about Danny Phantom, then you're familiar with the fact that this man has been a predator hiding in the shadows, even since his young adulthood in the 80s. His deep obsession with Danny's mom, only made worse by his boiling hatred of Danny's father, would ultimately result in a whirlwind of disaster that would leave Danny himself caught in the middle of it all. As the ripple effect takes hold, things would take a truly disturbing turn, as Danny would find himself at the true center of Vlad's obsession. What started out as a vengeance-fueled grudge against Jack Fenton would spiral into something so much more cunning and sinister. Though Vlad has enough money to buy nearly anything he could possibly dream of, it couldn't buy him the one thing that he truly wants: Jack's life. What began as jealousy over a woman that Vlad felt that he was entitled to led to the pursuit of revenge in the name of a life that he felt was taken from him. The most morbid part of all, though, would be the fact that, as we saw at the end of the episode Bitter Reunions, which we talked about in the first video in the series, all of this would be under the guise of Vlad's twisted and mangled version of mentorship and fatherly concern. Manipulation, control, and grooming, all centered around an obsession with the idea that he should be Danny's father and Maddie's husband, not Jack. That's why today, on our nostalgic walk down memory lane, we're gonna check out 2 episodes of Danny Phantom that prove exactly how far Vlad is willing to go to sink his claws into Danny's life, and why it's way worse than you remember. To start things off, we're checking out the episode called Maternal Instinct. This episode starts out at Danny's house in his parents' lab. As Sam and Tucker help him practice and hone in his ghostly skills, his mom sits upstairs reflecting on their past.
Danny and I used to be so close.
Take that! Nobody makes a meat puppet out of Jack Fenton. Fenton jerky?
Gracias. We shared everything. Secrets, Bunsen burners, soda.
Ah, yes. Nothing says bonding like backwash.
Danny's just shooting up so fast. Those special times seem to be slipping away. I miss them.
Jack sits there playing with his action figures until the doorbell rings and he goes to answer it. He opens it up to find a ghostly mailman floating there holding a letter to deliver. However, Jack is so oblivious that he doesn't even realize that this guy isn't a human. He tosses him a nickel and tells him to get more sun because he's white as a ghost, before slamming the door in his face and walking back to the living room. Jack gives the letter, which is an invitation, to Maddie as she excitedly reads it. We then cut over to Danny, still struggling with his training.
Wow, you can eat a nasty burger and fries at the same time.
Yeah, problem is I can only split myself this far. Vlad Plasmius can turn into like 4 different Vlads at once. That's what this weekend is about. Non-stop drills. No homework, no family, no interruptions.
Hey, Danny!
Danny's mom comes running in saying that he needs to go pack his bags because they're going to a mother-son science symposium in Florida. Just like that, we cut to later that day where Danny is preparing to leave while talking with his sister Jazz, who is jealous that he gets to go on this trip while she's going to be at home getting quality time with their dad.
The Delve Group. Never heard of them. Are they legitimate?
Legitimately boring, I'm guessing.
Now, just to make sure you're protected from any rogue ghost attacks on the road, sweet cakes, I made you this. It's the Fenton Spectre Deflector. Guaranteed to repel and weaken any ghost who comes in direct contact with you.
Ooh. Thanks, hon. Mwah. Oh, and Jack, please try not to trash the house while I'm gone.
Later on, we see Danny and his mom on a high-class jet that was sent to pick them up. He sits there looking annoyed while his mom talks to him, hoping that he can cheer up at least a little bit for their weekend together. Unfortunately, though, he's not even willing to pretend that he's even remotely interested in any of this, no matter how hard she tries.
Forget it, Danny. Just look out the window at that warm, sunny Florida coastline.
Well, folks, this is your captain speaking. If you look out the window on your left, you'll see the cold, bleak Colorado Rockies.
The Rockies? That's nowhere near Florida. What gives?
And if you look out the window on your right side, you'll see me, bailing out of the plane before it careens out of control and crashes.
Maddie hops into the pilot's seat. However, the controls are jammed and she isn't able to pull up to stop their descent. In a split-second decision, Danny decides to go ghost so that he can save his mom. But when he grabs onto her, the belt that Jack gave her actually functions properly and it stuns Danny, turning him into a human and leaving him groggy. His mom goes to check on him, and as she does, she notices 2 parachutes nearby, which just so happen to have their names written on them in big bold letters. The 2 of them toss the parachutes on and they hop out of the plane.
Folks, at this time I'd like to inform you that you've been the victims of a cruel hoax. Thank you for flying Air Evil Plot.
Oh, come on, Danny, don't be so glum. Look at the view.
Danny and his mom end up trekking through the woods as she uses her machete that she had tucked away in her boot to clear their path. Surprisingly, she seems pretty happy about roughing it in the woods with him. That is, until they come upon an extravagant mountain cabin castle mansion hybrid. She suggests that they just crash here for a bit when all of a sudden a familiar face approaches on a golf cart.
Why, Maddie and Danny Fenton.
Vlad Masters?
Oh, what an amazing, unexpected, and totally unplanned surprise. Personalized gift baskets?
You're up to something.
Oh, you think? They're here. Kill Jack.
What was that?
I said flapjacks. Pancakes.
As Vlad steps on the gas, spewing mud all over Danny in the process, we cut over to Jazz, who's hanging up the phone when her dad approaches, asking if he can give her a tutorial on his new weapon, the Jack-O Ninetails. She's pretty quick to deny it, annoyed that he would even offer, and expressing her distaste for ghost hunting in general. At that, she says that she's going out.
Hey there, rope it in, little miss. Be careful. Teenage boys are like wild animals. Back off! She's a minor!
Dad, you saved me from that monster.
Yeah, that's what I do, princess.
Jack declares that he's putting the house under ghost lockdown, and just like that, we cut over to Danny, who's sitting in Vlad's cabin, taking in the sight of all the taxidermied animals, looking rather uneasy about all of this.
So, what brings you two to these parts?
You'll never believe it. We were on our way to the symposium and our pilot forced us out of the plane right over your house.
Yeah, it's almost like it's some sort of villainous plot. What an incredibly well-planned coincidence.
That would be an oxymoron, dear boy. Oh, and speaking of morons, how's your old man?
Danny shoots Vlad a look that could kill, and in response, Vlad shoots a look back, beaming death rays that nearly blow a cavernous hole in Danny's chest. Vlad then turns his attention to Maddie, apologizing to her for Jack's behavior at their high school reunion, referencing the episode we checked out in the first video of this series. But when Danny points out that his dad was possessed by a lonely, pathetic single ghost, yet again, Vlad sends some death rays his way, actually hitting Danny this time. Maddie then chimes up saying that Jack may be a bit dense, but he means well.
I know, Maddie. And I've forgiven him for many things. Causing the accident that ruined my life, stealing you, the backwash incident.
Whoa. Back up. What was that?
Oh, the stealing you part? You always could see right through me. Oh, Maddie. I'm just going to come right out with it. Please, dump Jack and stay here. You and Danny both can. What do you say?
Danny talks smack to Vlad as they walk off, and as they disappear into the woods, he vows that Maddie will rue the day that she rejected him. Back at their house, Jack is fighting off ghost birds while Jazz hides behind him. However, when he's taken out by the birds, she's left holding the Jack-o'-nine-tails. As the birds begin to close in on Jack, sharpening their talons, Jazz is left having to protect her father.
Wow. Note to self. Make a Jazz action figure.
Back over in the woods, Danny sits on a log by their fire, looking really down while his mom prepares them a shelter for the night. She comes to sit by him, and she says that though this weekend hasn't gone as planned, it still means the world that they get to spend it together. Unfortunately though, as she rests her hand on top of his, just like before, the belt she's wearing shocks the hell out of him.
Okay, I get it. Stop touching me. Look, I'm gonna sleep over here, okay?
Well, good night, Danny. I love you.
Mm-hmm. Good night. Either Mom needs to shave her legs, or this is really bad news.
Danny finds himself being tossed into a chair at Vlad's house, surrounded by monstrous ghosts, led by none other than Vlad himself. Danny stands up and goes to fight them, but sadly for him, Vlad pulls out a device that works kind of like a taser, except it turns Danny back into a human and short-circuits his powers for exactly 3 hours. Vlad then reveals his plan to let Danny have a 5-minute head start into the woods before he sends his new minions to destroy him.
The clock's ticking, Danny, on you and your father. Run. Get him! 5 minutes, 5 seconds. Oh, apparently I'm bad at math, too.
Danny runs for his life deep into the woods, down a rock wall and across a river. He stops to breathe for a second before realizing that Vlad's monsters are hot on his trail just mere seconds away. He ends up tripping on a vine, but right before the monsters reach him, his mother pulls him up by his arm, saving him in the nick of time.
Remind me later how much trouble you're in for leaving the campsite.
Wow, that doesn't hurt.
Be right back.
Maddie ties the rope to the tree and presses a button on her belt, causing the outer layer of her suit to crack away as she jumps into action, single-handedly taking on all of the ghostly monsters. One by one, she smacks each of them with her staff, banishing them all with just one hit.
You are awesome!
Honey, thank you.
I will destroy you!
But we better start moving in case those ghosts come back.
Wait for me!
Danny rides on his mom's back as they make an escape from any pursuing ghosts. However, when he suggests that they find a way to call his dad, Maddie tells him that they don't really have any other choice than to go back to Vlad, who seems to be the only one out here with a phone and some transportation. Of course, Danny can't tell her that Vlad is his arch nemesis, so his only real argument here is the bad things that Vlad said about his dad. At that, Maddie admits that though Vlad is a creep, he's their only hope out here. And just to be safe, she puts the Spectre deflector belt on Danny to protect him.
I know it's girly, but it's for your own protection.
Great. At midnight, I get my powers back. At 12:01, the belt zaps me. And at 12:02, Vlad tries to make out with my mom. Those are gonna be the worst 2 minutes of my life.
Jazz, honey, Maddie, you're home.
Dad, it's me. Jazz?
Jazz? Why, look at you. You're the spitting image of your mother.
Jazz says that for her, this is just a sociological experiment. She says that she owes it to herself to experience all of this ghost stuff to the full degree just once so that she can hate it in a more informed context. Jack isn't really able to comprehend what she's even saying, but he's just happy that she's taking interest in ghost fighting for once.
I knew this day would come. That's why years ago I had this made for you.
Nice.
Sorry about the size. I thought you'd be swimming in my end of the gene pool. The end that's filled with ranch dressing, melted cheese, and fudge. Lots of fudge.
Jack says that ghost fighting is in her blood, but she tries to deny it. However, when Vlad's monsters show up to attack them mere seconds later, it's undeniable that all of this comes naturally to Jazz. We cut back over to Danny and his mom walking up to Vlad's house as it's only 10 minutes to midnight, which is when Danny's powers are supposed to come back. Danny is still worried about what happens when his powers come back and he's still wearing that belt. However, when he sees the key to the belt on his mom's waistband, he devises a clever plan.
But before you go in there and flirt our way out of here, I just want to say, I love you.
I love you too. Clingy!
Maddie, Daniel, you've returned to me. Ooh, not a moment too soon.
Danny, go somewhere else while the adults talk.
Danny walks off, and inside we see Vlad and Maddie sitting on his sofa by the fire, talking. He goes on about how exhausted she must be from carrying the weight of that mistake that she made all of those years ago. She lays the flirting on extra heavy, saying that we all make mistakes and maybe she'll make one right now. But when Vlad immediately leans in for a kiss, she pushes him back, saying that she's been wandering in the woods for hours and she needs to freshen up first.
I shall await with bated breath.
Keep old bait breath entertained until I can find a phone.
Mom is gone, which means time to spend a little quality time with Uncle Vlad. But first,
Danny approaches Vlad very softly, calling him Uncle Vlad, but he brushes Danny off, telling him that trying to butter him up is useless, especially when he still has 15 whole minutes until his powers come back. Nevertheless, Danny doubles down, saying that him and his mom talked about it, and they both decided that they want to stay here with him.
Really? You don't mean...
yes, I do. Come on, give me a big hug, new dad.
Ah! You little rat! You tricked me! You know what this will mean for you, don't you?
Oh, yeah. A much fairer fight!
Vlad attempts to go ghost. Unfortunately for him though, the belt is stronger than his powers, as it leaves him on the ground, stunned. Just like it had for Danny. We see the two of them start fighting, while Vlad is at the disadvantage of having this belt diminishing his strength to about the level that Danny's was at the beginning of this episode. He can't even duplicate his form properly anymore. Elsewhere in the mansion though, Maddie is checking every door, stumbling upon garages with luxury vehicles and a rooftop helipad, among other things. Oddly enough though, not a single phone in sight. Back downstairs, the fight is completely in Danny's favor as Vlad is just getting pummeled. He lays on the ground nearly powerless, but he's able to let out a whistle to call all of his ghostly monsters to finish Danny off for him.
Finish me? Why are you mad at me? I'm not the one who made your pelts into wall art.
Don't even think about it, you spectral freaks! I'm still more powerful than you!
And now you're not. I'll give you a 5-minute head start, Plasmius.
Really?
Minutes, seconds, You know how bad I can be at math. Get him!
Vlad runs for his life as the monsters angrily pursue, and Danny turns back into his human form right before his mom approaches. Danny tells her that Vlad ran out for a bite to eat as she breaks the news that she didn't find a single phone anywhere. Not even in the car, the SUV, or the helicopter. Ultimately though, they decide to just take the helicopter back home.
Now, sweetie, we're not going to mention any of this to your father, right? He'd be insanely jealous if he found out, so mum's the word.
Actually, I think mom's the word. Sorry I was such a jerk. I really had a good time. Backwash?
Oh, Danny, that is so sweet.
Back at home, Maddie lands the helicopter as Jack looks through the window, telling Jazz not to say a word to her mother about all of the stuff that happened while they were gone. Jazz agrees, and she gives her dad a thank you as they share a tender moment just like Danny and Maddie had. Jack then sits on the couch, acting natural as his wife and son walk through the door. He asks them how the weekend was, and they just kind of play it cool, saying that it was really uneventful overall.
I gotta go call Tucker and Sam. But, you know. So, how was your weekend?
Oh, you know, same old.
Well, I guess everything's back to normal then.
Get out of my house, you freak! Hi, Danny.
Hey, wait for me. It's my turn.
Oh man, if I'm being honest, this one is so much worse than I remember as far as Vlad's actions are concerned. This guy is just such a huge piece of garbage, and this episode is one that completely emphasized that in a way that's so much worse than the episode that introduced us to Vlad as a character. I mean, after watching what happened in Bitter Reunions, we could at least have a little bit of empathy for Vlad, considering that Jack did completely change his life by causing the accident that he suffered. However, this episode, on the other hand, just doubled down on every disgustingly repulsive aspect of Vlad's character and proved to us that now that Vlad has inserted himself into the lives of the Fenton family, he isn't going to stop or go away until he's gotten what he wants, or at least driven a massive wedge between them all. We have to talk about the obscene irony of Vlad being willing to put them in danger and bet on Maddie and Danny's survival skills in a plane crash of all scenarios, all in the name of trying to steal them from Jack. Like, it's pretty awful to consider that in Vlad's eyes, best case scenario, they both survived and he gets the opportunity to turn them on Jack. Or worst case scenario, they both perish in that plane crash and Jack loses half of his family. The fact that Vlad would put the two of them in this situation really calls all of his intentions into question, however. Up to this point, it's been clear that Vlad just kind of wants to steal Maddie from Jack. It wasn't really until Vlad learned about Danny's powers that he had shown any interest in wanting to raise him as his own son and take him under his wing as a mentor. On that note, Vlad doesn't really seem to have any interest in Jazz. It's just Maddie due to his love for her, and Danny because Vlad sees him as the son that he never had, mainly due to them being the only two ghost-human hybrids that we know of. This whole storm of events on Vlad's behalf just leads to the ultimate question of if they hadn't survived that plane crash, would that have hurt him? Like, if his ultimate goal is to have them as his own, you'd think that he wouldn't want to put their lives in danger the way that he had. With that in mind though, maybe he was betting on Danny's powers saving them, considering that there was obviously no way for him to tell that Maddie had a belt on that could pretty much stun him and make his powers useless for a bit. And, well, the two parachutes labeled with their names in there could have just been an insurance policy, just in case Danny couldn't save them with his powers. Even then though, it's inevitable that we wonder what Vlad could have been thinking in putting them in this situation when ultimately he seems as if he wants them alive. Well, at least Maddie. It's morbid to think though, Vlad setting them up to be in a plane crash was just the tip of the iceberg as far as his awful actions go. This episode in its entirety heightens our view of Vlad's brazen sociopathic nature as well as his general disregard for everyone around him, from the woman that he desires all the way to the mutated ghosts of the animals that he's hunted. We saw this hit like a freight train right out the gate when Maddie sat down in the golf cart with Vlad and he immediately starts secretly telling someone else to kill her husband right in front of her. And when she straight up hears him say it and questions it, he tries to cover his tracks, pretending that he said something else. It just puts such a bad taste in your mouth seeing how bold this man is with his approach and his awful intentions. It's just repulsive. If anything, I have to applaud the team behind this show for making Vlad such a hateable character. He really is one that has the ability to make your blood boil with his audacity. Honestly though, one kind of messed up thing about this episode is how it showed us front and center that Danny has some trauma from his past experience with Vlad and the dark reason why he's left carrying this burden. We see this, of course, when Danny is sitting in Vlad's house and he's immediately uneasy, getting scared by the rug on the ground. From there, he looks over to see Vlad standing in front of a mirror, and for just a brief moment, Danny's vision flashes to their ghost forms, specifically during the battle that they had. Of course, this stems from the way that bitter reunions had ended. Danny didn't really get the upper hand on Vlad easily. As a matter of fact, Vlad pretty much had him beat in the battle. However, Danny got Vlad to back down because he threatened to expose both of their identities to everyone, saying that his mom will forgive him, but she'd never forgive Vlad. Ultimately, that one ended with Danny having gotten the upper hand, yet he knew good and well that he hadn't seen the last of Vlad. Hence why Danny has been training and was originally planning a non-stop weekend of training over these next few days. He knows that Vlad is leagues upon leagues stronger than he is because of how long he had to practice and hone in his skills. Honestly, when we consider that though, it has me wondering, did Vlad know that Danny was planning to do all of this training this weekend? I mean, this seems like a little bit too perfect of timing for Vlad to insert himself into Danny's life again. Is Vlad spying on Danny? Because it's almost as if Vlad planned this in an effort to slow Danny down and get close to him before Danny gets too strong. By all means, if we consider that Danny is just a kid and that he's still got a lot of time to grow, that means that he's likely to have a lot more time with his powers than Vlad, the old man who got his powers in adulthood, will in the long run. Danny has the propensity to get vastly more powerful than Vlad is, considering that he's only a kid and that he's already as strong as he is now. It makes sense that Vlad would try to get close to Danny and groom him into accepting him as a fatherly figure early on before he gets strong enough to beat him. It's really just sickening to take in not only how far Vlad is willing to go to get a hold of Danny, but also his mother. This one really did put a massive emphasis on Vlad's controlling nature. I mean, if his general attitude and demeanor wasn't enough for you to see how much of a control freak this guy is, then the part where Maddie rejects him and he literally said, "No one tells me no," definitely would have solidified it. Honestly, what it really comes down to is that Vlad is the result of when a spoiled rich brat who is used to being told yes by everyone around him is given too much power. He thinks he's owed the world and that he can punish anyone who dares speak ill of his name. He's a true narcissistic, egotistical villain. If there's anything else that we need to touch on before we jump into the next episode, it would be the entire dynamic between Danny's family. First of all, I found myself rolling my eyes pretty hard at how both Danny and Jazz seem to have absolutely no interest in spending time with either of their parents, just for them to completely turn both of their attitudes around by the end. Like, I get that they both have their own things going on, especially Danny trying his best to hone in his powers to even a fraction of what Vlad's are, but even then, this feels like such an overdone trope in TV and movies that we've seen so many times now. I can get them maybe making one of the kids annoyed by having to spend time with their parents, but I don't know, this just felt a bit forced and rather out of character to me as it was applied to both Danny and Jazz in the same exact way. I mean, I remember Jazz consistently judging her parents, specifically how they raise her younger brother, and not really having much interest in them or anything that they have going on. However, I honestly don't really remember Danny being such a jerk towards his mom. Again, I get that he had plans to work on his ghostly abilities that got interrupted by this, but even then, him not even having a crumb of positivity for her in the beginning just felt odd. On a completely different note though, another thing that this episode showed us is the many ways that both Jack and Maddie are just such oblivious people and parents. I mean, we saw Jack full-blown getting mail from a ghost as it threw itself in his face and he didn't even realize it. Or the fact that, I don't know, Vlad full-blown tried to murder Danny right in front of his mom and she had no idea that it even happened. Like, he wasn't even subtle about it either. She straight up looked over right after it happened, but didn't question the massive hole in the chair that her son was just sitting in. Or in general, the fact that Maddie didn't connect the dots that this invitation, the ghosts that showed up, or the conveniently placed plane crash had anything to do with Vlad. Like, come on, the helicopter that they straight up stole from Vlad literally says Dalv on it, which is the name of the group that sent Maddie the invitation in the first place. Unfortunately, even though all of the pieces are there though, Danny can't lay it out to his mom without essentially revealing his secret rivalry with Vlad. So it just leaves this poor kid in this messed up situation where he's finding himself having to walk right back into the lion's den with his mother, hoping for help when, in all reality, he knew that he was potentially walking towards his own doom. However, the truly dark and often overlooked aspect of this episode is how it slightly uncovers some cracks in the foundation of Danny's parents' relationship and the way that it puts their entire family's livelihood at risk. Zooming out to see the bigger picture, we watched this mysterious invitation show up out of nowhere, hand-delivered by a ghost. Next thing you know, Maddie finds herself on a luxury jet with her son, just to mysteriously crash above Vlad's house. All the meanwhile, right after she leaves, Jack and Jazz are getting constantly attacked by ghosts. Yet everyone except for Danny is left thinking that all of this is just one massive coincidence because of Maddie and Jack's need to keep secrets from one another. If they had just been honest with each other at the end about what had happened, maybe they could have connected all of these dots and realized that Vlad is directly tormenting their family. Unfortunately though, they robbed themselves the ability to connect those dots, and not even Danny can help because just like his mom, he's oblivious that anything went down at home while he was gone. As the dominoes fall, it's sad because first and foremost, the biggest one in danger here is Danny. Their inability to be honest with each other is ultimately damning their son more than anything. We can't forget though, sure, Maddie and Jack may have been in the wrong for lying, but the true villain here of course is Vlad for pulling all of these strings and putting the family in these predicaments to begin with. Next up, we're checking out an episode that continues the saga of Vlad and his growing hunger to consume Jack's life. We're looking at the episode called $1 Million Ghost. This episode starts out just outside of Wisconsin at Vlad's mansion. Inside, we see his ghost portal active as Vlad is in the ghost zone, having survived the pursuing monsters and the belt that Danny put on him in the last episode. He approaches a locked box with a skeleton key inside that he explains will give him the ability to free any prisoner, visit any realm, and open any door within the ghost zone. As he approaches it though, he's intercepted by a massive red ghostly monster who's been tasked with guarding the key. Vlad doesn't sweat it for a second though, as he's able to easily outwit the monster and get the best of it. He ends up duplicating himself and having his clones tie up the monster and hold it while he goes for the key. When he gets close, however, the monster breaks free from its restraints and goes right for him. It smacks Vlad with its tail, sending him flying right back through the portal that he came from, along with his clones. Right after that though, the monster follows him and sticks its head through the portal. As Vlad goes to attack though, an alarm starts going off nearby.
Change the ectofiltrator. Oh, fudge buckets. Ah! My house! The key! I can't get that key without a portal. I'll need to find another working one. I guess I'll just have to take Jack Fenton's.
From there, we see Danny and Jazz arriving at school as he thanks her for driving him today. Just then though, a ghost alert that was just installed in the school starts going off and Jazz begins to panic. Tucker and Sam walk up and Danny asks them what's going on, and Sam explains that the school sent out a memo explaining that they're going to start doing ghost drills now.
I am a ghost.
Who's that supposed to fool?
Ghost! I got the memo, and I know there are ghosts around here.
Dad, no!
It's not a ghost! It's an out-of-shape teacher in a mask!
We'll see about that, son. Eat ghost peeler, spook!
As Jack blasts Mr. Lancer, all of his clothes vaporize off, leaving him in his underwear in front of all the students who are laughing at him. Sadly, Danny's left to take the punishment as Mr. Lancer can't give his dad detention, and as Danny has to face the wrath, we cut to later that evening where Jazz is talking to her dad about the dangers of just barging into school, saying that he really got Danny into some serious trouble.
Oh yeah, you think he's in trouble now? Look at this place. Danny hasn't cleaned the lab in weeks. The beakers are caked with goo and... Would you look at that? The ectofiltrator hasn't been changed in 6 months. That can't be good.
Just then, Danny walks in with his backpack full, saying that he's going to be busy for the next 6 months with all this extra work that Mr. Lancer gave him thanks to his dad's actions today. He's really mad at his dad over it, but his mom interrupts, saying that Jack has nothing but good intentions. Right at that moment though, they're all interrupted by a news bulletin saying that the hunt is on in their city for the ghost boy, sparked by Jack's incompetence. The news anchor, who I think might be Harriet from Bitter Reunions, but I'm not 100% sure, says that a mystery benefactor has put out $1 million bounty on the ghost boy, and he's hired the most experienced ghost hunters to track him down. At that, we cut over to the Nasty Burger, where Sam is talking to Danny, wondering if he's worried about all of the ghost hunters. However, he's not really breaking a sweat.
Sam, the best known. They're not the best. The Groovy Gang and Scaredy Cat. The Extreme Ghost Breakers. The government's ghost hunting squad, guys in white.
We have a cleanliness breach in shoulder section alpha. I'll fill out suit cleaning form number 87B Omega.
As Danny points out that this is just a wild mishmash of people who don't really know how to actually hunt ghosts, he predicts that his mom and dad will probably be there any moment now. And like clockwork, they show up right when he mentions them. Thankfully, this puts his mind even more at ease, as he's confident that he could easily outwit all of these supposed ghost hunters. Just then, Tucker comes up revealing his plan to start making money giving out ghost tours around the area, but given that he's wearing a ghost costume in a parking lot full of wannabe ghost hunters, of course, within seconds he's covered in green ectoplasm. Not too far away, however, is Vlad, who's overseeing the entire operation, accompanied by his vulture minions.
I don't get it. If you just want to steal the portal, why not do it now while the Fentons aren't home?
Dismantling that portal will take time. And while tearing down the portal, I can tear down young Daniel's respect for his father. Assuming he has any, you know what to do.
The vultures fly down, dive bombing the ghost hunters, and Jack immediately jumps into action. Meanwhile, all of the other ghost hunters say that they're going to kick back and watch because that isn't the $1 million ghost. Jack ends up catching one of the vultures with his Fenton fishing pole, but unfortunately for him, the ghost's strength outmatches him, and it drags him all the way over to the drive-thru and smashes him into the ordering speaker, causing the mascot's head to crash down onto Jack's and humiliating him in front of everybody.
Danny, do something!
What do you want me to do? I can't go ghost here. Besides, nobody's in any real danger yet, right? And now they are.
Danny flies right past the ghost hunters and directly for the ghost vultures. That is, until Vlad stops him dead in his tracks, grabbing him by the throat and tossing him to a nearby rooftop. Danny is shocked to see him here, and Vlad is surprised considering that his dad looks like a fool and there's $1 million on his head. He thinks it should be obvious by now. Of course, Danny jumps right into action, attempting to fight him, but Vlad, like usual, is able to get the best of Danny relatively easy because he's so much stronger.
So you hired these idiots?
Yes, every idiot except your father. He's a free idiot.
Danny, help!
As much as I'd enjoy catching up, Plasmius, shouldn't you be getting home to the love of your life? Oh, that's right. Dad married the love of your life. You're bitter and alone.
Danny tries to hit Vlad, but he catches the punch and shocks him for a really long time, leaving Danny completely stunned before he tosses him over to the ghost hunters, hoping Danny will be hunted by his own parents. All of the ghost hunters prepare to attack, including Jack and Maddie, as Danny finds himself laying on the ground defenseless at their mercy.
Boo?
Ow! I have a skin breach on facial sector 5.
Like, shouldn't we focus on the ghost kid? You know, before Jack Fenton does something stupid and he escapes?
Where is he? Where is he?
Like that?
Danny ends up flying off, and of course everybody blames it on Jack, even though he didn't exactly do anything. Later that day, we see Danny in his parents' lab with Sam and Tucker while they're discussing what Vlad could be up to. Sam is really skeptical that Vlad's only intentions are to embarrass Danny's dad and steal his mom, but Danny plants his feet firmly, saying that's exactly why Vlad's here. Just as Danny is explaining why, though, his dad walks into the room at probably the worst time.
Did you see the way those ghost hunters were laughing at him? How embarrassing. We're all gonna have to live with my dad's goof-ups for the rest of our lives. He's right behind me, isn't he?
Yes, I'm afraid he is. If you need me, I'll be upstairs doing something wrong.
Nice. You want to go upstairs and make your mom cry?
Great. I just managed to do Plasmius's job for him.
Sam says there's only one thing that will cheer Danny's dad up: catching a ghost. At that, Danny says that his dad catching public ghost enemy number 1 should make him feel a lot better. In the kitchen, we see Jack at the table lamenting the fact that his son thinks he's an embarrassing idiot. Just then, though, Danny phases through the table and appears right before Jack, making spooky noises and even straight up talking to him to get his attention. Jack, though, just kinda tells him to go away, assuming that he's only here to make fun of him too, and thinking that he couldn't even catch him if he wanted to.
Jack?
You know me?
And fear you. That's why I've come to turn myself in to you.
No thanks, Ghost Kid. I'm tired of getting laughed at. I give up.
You can't do that!
You're darn right he can't! Hey, Bot! Fenton Weasel! Ghost scum!
Okay, this wasn't part of the plan.
With her son captured, Maddie goes up to Jack, handing him the vacuum and congratulating him for catching the $1 million ghost. He stands up cheering and tells her that she's the best wife ever before he rushes to the RV and takes off. Over by the school, we see Tucker and Sam giving all of the ghost hunters a tour via bicycle, doing their best to keep them busy for Danny, when Jack races by them in the RV, going full speed. He's following the directions to claim the reward, which lead him to a dark, secluded alleyway.
Huh. It's a funny place to claim a reward.
Please, stop! You should know what you're getting into here!
I know exactly what I'm getting into. A bigger place in my son's heart.
Thanks. Now I'm crushed by space and guilt. Look! You have to listen to me! All of this is a trap!
Oh, please, Ghost, why should I believe you? Hey!
Does that answer your question?
Just then, Vlad appears and Jack is shocked to see him again, calling him the Wisconsin Ghost as he recalls battling him and being possessed by him back when they visited Vlad in bitter reunions. Vlad dramatically reveals his plan, saying that they played right into it. Now he's got them right where he wants them, trapped in a cage, while their ghost portal is completely defenseless so he can steal it. Danny questions why he needs to steal it when he has his own ghost portal.
You have a ghost portal?
Of course I have a portal. Well, I did. It up and exploded on me. Well, that's what you get for forgetting to clean the ectofiltrator. Live and learn. Or in your case, die and learn.
Vlad flies off and we cut over to Danny's house where we see his vultures in the middle of disassembling the ghost portal. Upstairs, Jazz walks in out of nowhere calling for her family when her mom appears covering her mouth and telling her to be quiet because there are ghosts about. At that point though, it's too late as the vultures appear having heard everything. Maddie and Jazz make a quick escape with a smoke bomb, and they make their way to the secret weapons vault, but sadly, Maddie finds that Jack changed the password and didn't tell her.
There's no way in!
All out!
Oh, great. We're stuck.
How can we be stuck? It's not like Dad would forget to put a handle on the inside of the door, right? Note to self, have Danny install handle on inside of door. Jack.
We cut back to Jack and Danny sitting inside of the cell that Vlad trapped them in. From the inside of the trap, Danny tries to convince Jack that they need to get back to the lab before the portal explodes. Jack, on the other hand, says that he's not worried about the portal because his son cleaned the ectofiltrator.
Did he clean the lab?
No.
Does he clean his room?
No.
Would he, I don't know, forget to install a handle on the inside of a weapons vault or something?
Great gobs of ghost goo, the portal's gonna blow!
Jack tells the ghost kid that if he helps him escape and saves his family, he'll set him free, even though he already set him free. Regardless though, he tells Jack that he has a deal, and just like that, the two of them phase through the cell and towards Jack's house. As they fly though, they come across Tucker, Sam, and the ghost hunters, still on their tour. They catch sight of Jack and Danny, recognizing him as the ghost kid, and they all spring into action, scrambling to catch the ghost for themselves. As they give chase, one of the guys in white throws some sort of device that shocks Danny, and it sends him and Jack hurling towards the ground. Jack picks him up and the two prepare for battle, but Danny tells his dad to keep going and save his family, saying that he can handle all of these idiots on his own.
Boo! Oh man, this is just too easy. Get the kitty! Get him!
This reeks to the extreme!
With all of the ghost hunters defeated, Danny flies towards his house to face Vlad. Speak of the devil, back in the lab, Vlad is standing by asking the vultures what's taking them so long, when, all of a sudden, Jack shows up and captures Vlad with a spectral rope. Unfortunately though, Vlad sees this as a good thing, as he says he gets to eliminate Jack inside of his own home. He easily breaks through the rope and sends his vultures to attack, and at that exact moment, Danny shows up. He initially contemplates stepping in, but when he sees his dad completely destroying the vultures on his own with his Jack-o'-nine-tails, he ends up sitting back and letting him have this moment.
Oh, please, fool. Your family's in danger every time you pick up a butter knife. It's time somebody puts you out of their misery.
I might be a goof. I might mess up. But when my family's at stake, the gloves are off. Well, technically they're on, but you get the point.
Vlad flies at him, and Jack powers up his gloves before using them to completely destroy Vlad, smacking his head from multiple different angles. Considering his dad has this under control, Danny takes this as the perfect opportunity to do some of his chores that have been piling up down here. His dad and Vlad even help him with clearing the table, cleaning the beakers, and taking out the trash, which leaves Danny free to take care of the portal's ectofiltrator. Just in time too, as an alarm with a countdown to detonation begins. He begins to swap the filter for a new one as his dad finishes off Vlad.
It's not possible. You're an idiot. An idiot!
Maybe so, but I'm the idiot to beat you. Aren't you forgetting something? Again?
Portal to explode in 5.
You see, that's exactly what would happen if you don't change the ectofiltrator every 6 months.
Danny stands up and tells his dad about how proud he is of him and the fact that he beat that ghost all on his own. The two walk off talking about how they're going to do better going forward as far as keeping up on chores and being mindful of how their actions affect others. All the meanwhile, we still hear the pounding noise of Maddie and Jazz banging on the door while begging to be released from the weapons vault still. Simultaneously, we see Vlad in the ghost zone after being thrown into the portal by Jack.
Unbelievable. Jack Fenton beat me. Me! And yet here I am, holding the key I've been searching for. Oh, Jack Fenton, even in success, you failed! Oh, butter biscuits!
Now, this episode feels like a perfect one to follow up the last episode, considering that the two are kind of opposites in a way. The last episode was focused on Vlad weaponizing Maddie's love for her son in order to lure them in and get closer to her. Meanwhile, this one shows us Vlad's attempt to mess with Danny's perceptions of his father, and a twisted attempt to make him lose all respect for him through embarrassment. It's pretty messed up to think that bitter reunions saw Vlad directly approaching Danny and trying to groom him into allowing Vlad to take a parental and kind of mentor role in his life. But when that didn't work, he moved on to trying to groom him through manipulation of his mother. Then of course, when that fails, Vlad moves on to trying to make Danny see how worthless his own father is. With this secret diabolical hope that it'll lead to Danny coming running to him looking for a father figure. This episode truly shows Vlad's willingness to sink as low as possible to try to take over Jack's family and assume them as his own. One interesting thing about this though is that it truly makes us question Vlad's ultimate intentions, even further than the last episode did. It's very odd because in some ways, it feels like Vlad is chasing way too many goals at once and losing sight of opportunities as a result. I mean, here we are thinking from the start that Vlad wants to do away with Jack and take his place in his family. Then the last episode kind of doubled down on that with how he tried to lure Maddie in, but it also doubled down on the side of Vlad that wants to eradicate Danny instead. as opposed to the side of him that wants to train Danny and take him under his wing. But in this episode, Vlad didn't really show any interest in Maddie. All the meanwhile, he didn't really seem like he was trying to eliminate Danny in this one either. He was trying to get others to do it for him. As a matter of fact, he even found himself in a position where he had both Jack and Danny trapped, and he could have eliminated them both right there. But for some reason, he didn't. Could he be slipping up? Could it be because he was so focused on his goal to take their ghost portal that he overlooked that would have been the perfect opportunity to take them out? Or could it be that Vlad's goals are changing and there's some hidden reason why he needs Danny and Jack still alive at this point? On that note, now feels like as good a time as any to point out Sam's thinking that Vlad embarrassing Danny's dad and stealing his mom aren't his only intentions here. It's one of those where she recognizes how this feels like way too much work just to simply terrorize his parents. She had the foresight to smell a bigger scheme from a mile away, and that's definitely worth mentioning. On the other hand though, it is really odd how Danny was so quick to dismiss her, when in all reality, she was completely correct. Vlad wanted Danny to think that this was his same old shtick of trying to target his parents, and Danny fell right into it. Danny assured Sam that Vlad was just trying to target his dad, but little did he realize this was all just a tipping point which would set in motion a much bigger plan. One that Vlad hopes will result in Danny doubting his dad's capability and coming to him in search for stability and power. Furthermore though, him targeting Danny's parents was the perfect cover-up for the actual sinister plot that's unfolding in the background. One that revolves around the skeleton key that Vlad has desperately been pursuing. Another thing that adds a complex layer of dangerous power to Vlad as a character though, is how much sway that his money has. I mean, this episode saw him put $1 million bounty up, and on top of that, hiring a bunch of ghost hunting teams to hunt Danny down. Next thing you know, the entire city is aware of what's happening, and his dad is getting publicly dragged on the news. It wasn't until Vlad's money was introduced to the situation that the public's attention was on Danny, and he became public ghost enemy number 1. Vlad even skewed things in such a way that had Danny's own father hunting him. On that note, it's so messed up that Vlad basically tricked Danny into a plot that would result in his own dad unknowingly hand-delivering him to Vlad. Jack literally had no idea in this moment that he was full-blown giving his son to a man that has tried to end his life multiple times in the past. Honestly though, the thought of living through what Jack is experiencing in life just sounds so terrifying. Jack is so oblivious that it's kind of scary. He's like a 6-year-old stuck in a grown man's body. Like, this guy might still not even realize that he and Vlad aren't best friends anymore, and that they aren't on speaking terms. All the meanwhile, Vlad is actively in the process of trying to steal Jack's life. With that in mind though, as oblivious as Jack may be, this episode truly did show a level of aptitude that we rarely see from him. It really does make a big statement that Jack was able to single-handedly defeat Vlad using one of his and Maddie's inventions. I mean, Danny, with his full-blown ghost powers, isn't even able to defeat Vlad on an even playing field. Yet, Jack, a bumbling idiot of a human with the proper tools, was able to take Vlad down without even breaking a sweat. This aspect certainly gave me hope for the situation, which admittedly has felt pretty hopeless up to this point. Each time we've seen Danny best Vlad, it ultimately was a matter of outsmarting him, not overpowering him. Unfortunately though, that's not something Danny can rely on forever. However, this one did show us that the battle with Vlad isn't necessarily one that Danny has to fight on his own. Sure, Danny can't outright tell his parents his secret and ask them for help, But this one certainly showed them that Vlad, or as Jack calls him, the Wisconsin ghost, is a lot more of a threat than the ghost boy that the news plastered as a threat who needs to be caught. With that in mind, Danny's interaction with his dad in this episode as he was in his ghost form is certainly one that I'd like to hope will help him in the future. What's really messed up about this one though is how it's such a bittersweet mix of positive and negative. Sure, we saw Jack defeat Vlad and send him packing, but the sweet taste of victory is only momentary here. Just like we saw Jack unknowingly hand-deliver his son to Vlad, we would also see Jack inadvertently deliver Vlad directly to the thing that he's been searching for this entire episode: the skeleton key. This would ultimately leave us wondering about the significance of this key and how it's going to play a role in the bigger story though. Has Vlad given up and accepted that Maddie will never want to be with him and Danny will never go with him willingly? This key could symbolize a lot when we keep that in mind. This episode could have been Vlad's last-ditch effort to get Danny to willingly come with him by showing him how much of a fool that his dad is. But when that didn't work, he ended up right back at his failsafe. The key that could potentially escalate his manipulation to outright domination. More than anything, this episode proves the fact that Vlad is a looming threat that would continue to grow as time would go on. He's a ticking time bomb who has shown his ability to pretty much turn the entire city against Danny. However, this episode would really just be a simple foreshadowing of things to come. From here, Vlad's hunger for power and control would escalate to levels that you could never imagine. But what do you guys think? What's your opinion on Vlad and how far he's willing to go to manipulate Danny's family? Let me know in the comments down below. I always love seeing your guys' feedback. Of course, massive shout out to my friends in the True 90s Kids tier across YouTube memberships and over on Patreon. You guys are the absolute best, and I appreciate every last one of you. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to drop a like and stick around for another one. As always, thank you all so much for watching, and I can't wait to see you guys in the next one. Peace.